Peace, 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 family. Welcome to Numbers Matter. I know it's been a while since we've had a Numbers Matter up episode, but we are back with a special Numbers Matter to end off Black History Month. So I definitely wanted to come do this show today, even though there's a lot going on. But I'm glad I was able to come on live so we can just go over some numbers, right? Numbers Matter. This is the podcast where we talk about historical and current people, places, and things. And we look at the numbers surrounding these things to let us know why numbers matter. So this helps us to see how we interact with these numbers and these frequencies in the universe. And it also can show us how these numbers and frequencies show up for us personally in our personal life. So it's kind of fun to do these breakdowns on historical people because you can kind of look at their whole life and look at the main events that happened in their life to see which things were instrumental with them. So before we get started on that, let me do a couple of things real quick. I am just going to go ahead and announce our sponsors. Let me get to that page. Where are our sponsors at? I want to announce our sponsors and then we'll go ahead and get started. And then we'll go over the calculator on my website for people who want to join the website. I have some great things coming up, so I want to go over that stuff before we actually get started with the broadcast. So, anybody that's tuning into this, thank you so much for tuning in live. If you are here, make sure you like the video, make sure you subscribe, and make sure you leave a comment in the chat. And also leave a comment once the video is complete so we can get that algorithm up. And of course, make sure you like and subscribe. That's always important to do. All right, so let's see here. So our first sponsor here is going to be the Shasu Experience, the sound healing architect, Kanaya Shasu. She's an astro-numerologist. You can hit her up on all social media platforms. And then we have Miss Portia Cooper. She is the queen of the Soul Card Studio, and she has wonderful candles and journals that you can use to get yourself in alignment. I believe there is still a 20% off with the code Queen Bee. I'm sure she would still honor that for you. And then we have the every other Saturday unread book review with Nick and Rue. Of course, you can catch this at Mr. Westbrook's class on YouTube or at Mawu Lisa 4610 on YouTube. So make sure you're tapped in with them every other Saturday for the book review. And then Knowledge is Love Tribe. This is a tribe that I am a part of the community for. It's a wonderful community. Um, it's a platform where you can exchange ideas with different like minded people and healers. And also, they do tribe meetings where they bring special guests on for people to learn different things and be able to kind of talk to the different guests. So make sure you hit Big E up for that. And of course, our journals are on Amazon. Fire sign, water sign, air sign, or earth sign, sun, moon, or ascendant. These are reflection journals for you to balance your elemental energy. The journals have plenty of information in them, so make sure you pick one up. It is the best $10 you'll ever spend, and it's a great gift that you can get to go along with our astro-numerology birthday cards that are on our website right now. So you can also buy one of these cards and also get a cosmic cub along with that journal. So those are excellent gifts that you can give people. You don't have to go anywhere further than numeralytics.net. And then I do want to make sure I announce that we still do have the 2026 upcycle roadmaps for you guys. It's not too late to get your roadmap. You can get these right on the website. So I would take advantage of this because it's going to give you each month what your personal energy is along with the universal energy. It's going to give you different tips on what to do and what not to do during these time frames. So that's something that you definitely want to take advantage of. Okay, I think I got most of that housekeeping out of the way. So, what I'm going to do right now, and tonight, family, I'm going to need you guys to bear with me because I do have a lot going on, and the computer is not acting as good as I want it to act. So, we might have some snafus, and we know Mercury's in retrograde. Mercury went in retrograde in the sign of Pisces on February 26th, just yesterday. So we're just getting into the thick of things with this Mercury retrograde. Um, so just make sure you guys are watching your communications and the emotional overtones with that communication you're doing because this retrograde can definitely have a great effect on that. So before we get started, I'm going to start by sharing my screen. So let me do that. Um, Preview. Okay. So I wanted to share the screen because this is the website. Okay. So this is going to be the numeralytics.net website. And I wanted to share this because on the website, I have calendars and I have calculators that you guys can come pop your numbers in, pop your name and your birth date in, and it's going to give you information. So there's two tiers to the calendar. You have the preview, which we're on now, and then you have the full calendar, which is a $5 per month subscription. But I'm doing some special things with that subscription, so I'll explain that in a minute. But this is the cosmic calendar preview. So what this is going to give you, it's going to give you the universal timing for any day that you want to look at. So if you do not know how to get the universal day, month, or year, you can simply come to my website every day and put this in, and it's going to tell you the universal year, month, and day. And it's also going to let you know how to move. Okay. So right here, it's going to give you a breakdown of which each number means. And then it's going to let you know who it favors and who's going to be attracted to you that day. So let's just do it for today. I already have this done for today. So we look at today's forecast. It's a one universal year. We're in a three universal month, and today is a four universal day. So for the year, that's new beginnings, planting seeds, starting fresh, choosing one direction and moving first. For a three universal month, that's expansion. So you want to let things grow, you want to create, communicate, and widen your reach. And then for a four universal day, that's going to be about work, order, and structure. So it's structure, discipline, and foundation. You should be focused on creating order and a routine and building a container for the blessing. You do want to plan, organize, document, set boundaries, handle the boring parts. Don't rush or cut corners or be sloppy because it will cost you later. With four, it's the work you put in, the work you get out, the same as the number eight. Okay. And then the oracle guidance is stability is a spiritual practice. And today, that resonant energy is going to be high for those that are an Aquarius or a Leo, or those born on the 1st, the 4th, the 10th, the 13th, the 19th, the 22nd, the 28th, or the 31st of the month. Okay. And then, like again, I said the universal day four is going to resonate strongly with Leos or Aquariuses. So if either your individual frequency is a four, your life path, or your expression. Okay. So this is the normal calendar that you can look at. Okay. And then we also have on the website, I'll just show real quick. Hold on one second. Um, So then you have to go, if you want to get your personal energy, you would do the full calendar, and that's a subscription. Okay. So I'm going to go to the page where you can see how it looks if you do the full calendar. So if you subscribe to the website, you'll be on the full calendar. And this is a subscription. Okay. So you can subscribe here. It'll give you everything you just got for the universal energy, but it's also going to give you your personal energy factor. It's going to give you what your personal energy upcycle is for that day. And you can pick any day you want. Okay. And then here again, so this is for I put my birthday in, and this is for me for today. So it's a one universal year, but I'm an 11 personal year. A 3 universal month, I'm in a 4 personal month. A 3 universal day, I'm in a 4 personal day. And as you can see here, I won't read the guidance because I just went over the guidance. But this gives you your upcycle guidance. So not just the universal, it gives you your personal information. Also tells you where the moon is today, what sign it's in, the element, what phase. It gives you a little guidance about the moon and how that's resonating with you in accordance with your individual frequency or your sun sign. Okay. And then the other cool part about the full subscription calendar is that uh, you get access to my numerology aspects calculator. Okay. And this is going to tell you about 4 out of 5 of your core numbers in numerology. So your soul urge, your expression, your life path, and individual frequency. That equals your wants, your abilities, your must, and your individual frequency. And your aspects will let you know if they're harmonic, complementary, neutral, or conflicting. Okay. And you have access to this. So, what I did here, as you can see, this is the whammy calculator. I used the calculator to do Carter G. Woodson's numbers just to show you guys how that looks. So, I'm going to generate his whammy. I already done that. So, his numbers are his soul urge is a 8, his expression is a 1, and his life path is a 7. His individual frequency is a 1. So as you can see down here, this will give you that, and it'll give you your aspects now. It'll give you the signature of the number, the element, the planet, and the gender. And it's going to give you your strengths, your challenges, and guidance for that number, where that core number shows up. And then down here are the actual inner whammy numerology aspects, where it's answering the questions that satisfy the aspect to let you know, are those two aspects conflicting, complementary, neutral, or harmonic? Okay. So let me remove the share screen. Um, I know that could have been a lot to start with, but I just wanted to make sure that I shared that with everyone. And what we're going to be doing is those people who are subscribed to the full calendar, we're going to be starting a monthly meeting with those people. And you can join or you don't have to join, but I'm doing the monthly meeting because I feel like you have access to the calendar. You're paying a subscription, and I want you to be able to understand what you're looking at. So when we have these meetings, you're able to bring questions that you have about either your whammy numbers, or you can bring questions if you put someone else in there. And also to let you know, we do have whammies um, for relationships. So if you want to do a relationship comparison, we can also do that. Okay, so I got all of that kind of housekeeping out of the way. So let's get started with our presentation. Let me bring this slide deck over so we can bring up Dr. Carter G. Woodson's numbers, and his numerology is so interesting, you guys. And I think we're really going to have fun with this. And what I want you to do is, as I'm going through the numbers and we're talking about it, obviously put some questions in the chat if you have them. I'll break the answer questions with the audience and engage with you guys. But I want you guys to think about, as I'm going through his numbers, I want you to think about what your numbers are or what your numbers may be. Because just like we can go through this for Carter G. Woodson, all of us have this unique setup. Okay. We all have our unique whammy, right? We all present that whammy in a different package, right? So it's important to know your numbers, it's important to know that. And it's a better way for us to move forward as a community. So let me just hold on. Let me do a slideshow from current slide because I want to make sure we get the whole picture. And then we'll share again. And like I said, thank you for being patient with me tonight. It's been a long day. All right. All right. So let's get his slide up here. Um, I'm going to just put myself somewhere. Let me see if I can get somewhere else. I guess that's better. So this is the timeline for Carter G. Woodson. Um, he has spectacular numerology. And again, like I said, when we did his whammy package, it let us know what his key numbers are and what his main numbers were. So right now, this is where we are with Carter G. Woodson. His individual frequency and his I don't think that was his soul urge. Was it his soul urge? Was it 8? No, yes. So his individual frequency and his soul urge is a number 1. So that has 2 here. His life path is a 7. His expression is an 8. His personality is a master number 11, and we're going to see a lot of this come up in his numbers. His personal universal code is going to be a 4 and a 3. And then I did something a little different this time. I put the stress numbers here. So his stress numbers are the 6, the 8, and the 5. But as you can see, the 8 is also one of his core numbers. So we only have that listed once here since it is a stress number. So what I'm going to do, let me bring that back up. Hold on. Let me go back. So I want you guys to focus on this, okay? I want us to focus on this screen. And what I'm going to do is I am going to, oops, these are my notes. Let me pull them over here so I can get some of these notes out. And then I need to actually pull up another slide page. Be patient with me tonight. Please be patient with me tonight. We got a lot going on over this side, and we also want to make sure that we get this done the right way. All right, here we go. So we're going to get this started. This is not exactly how I wanted it to look, but it's okay. So we're talking about Carter G. Woodson. So we should all know that Carter G. Woodson is known as the father of Black history. He is the person that started Negro History Week in 1926. And as we know, 1926 was 100 years ago. So this is 100 years of Black history that we're celebrating. And that's why I really definitely wanted to make sure that we did this episode so we could honor Carter G. Woodson and just shed some light on his numerology and shed some light on some of the brilliant things that he's done. Um, throughout his lifetime. So we're going to go ahead and get started. So let's first look at his core numbers and kind of look at what they mean. Okay. Because when we examine his life through the numerology cycles, we're going to start seeing patterns and we're going to start seeing like an extraordinary um, portals that were basically these were portals that have opened for him. Okay. So this is going to be pretty cool. So again, his whammy, which are his core numbers in numerology, are what are number 1. That's his individual frequency. So we know the number 1 represents independence, leadership. Okay. And then the number 7, he's a life path 7. So he's here to gain wisdom. He's here to knowledge seek, to get sacred knowledge, and to be able to share that knowledge with the world. Life path 7s are here to understand theories and fundamentals of the world. Okay. So this is what he did. And we're going to see that pattern as we go through. And then his expression is an 8. He has the same expression as Michael Jackson. So we know the number 8 represents like a powerhouse. It's big business. It's like institutional authority. It means all of those things. It's power, it's integrity, it's karma. It's dealing with the material world. It's leaving a legacy, which is something that Carter G. Woodson definitely did. I mean, it's 100 years later, and look how big Black history's gotten. It hasn't just been contained in the US. Black history has spread to other countries. So the UK has a Black History Month. I think Australia has one. I think Canada has one. So this was all built. He built this legacy all through his idea. Okay. And we're going to look more at why he did it and what were some of the quotes that he said and what did he think about what he was doing at the time. And we got to remember at the context of the time, we're in 1875. Um, we're 10 years after the Civil War. So Reconstruction was well underway. And, there was a lot going on in America at that time for Black Americans. So this was very progressive and forward thinking, like that number one he is. It's interesting. We're going to look at that. And his personality number is a master number 11. So that is, the master visionary, the master illuminator, here to, bring spiritual visions to light for practical use, the bridge between the spiritual and the physical with those two ones, right? So all of those things and those two ones also add on to him being a individual frequency one and his soul urge being a one. So he really wanted to be a leader. He wanted to be original and creative and leave legacy, and that's what he did. So he was not just a historian, you guys. He was a transmitter of historical consciousness. And this is the way that I want us to remember Carter G. Woodson when we think about him and when we talk about him in context of Black history. Okay, not just a historian, he was a transmitter of historical consciousness and a transmitter of historical memory for Black America. So this is huge for us, especially during this time. So let's take a look. First, I didn't even say what his birthday was. I just went through his core numbers. So I'll tell you his birthday is December 19th, 1875. Wow, that's crazy to say 1875, right? So yeah, he was born in 1875. He was born in Virginia. And he was born at the time his parents were still enslaved, which is crazy because we had the Civil War at the time already. So I don't really know how that works, but when he was born, his parents were still enslaved. They had not yet gained their freedom. So that's something to look at, right? So when we look at his birthday, December 19th, that's a Sagittarius number one. So he's a fire sign with a fire number. So it doesn't surprise me that he did all these things in his life because at the end of the day, it takes drive, it takes passion, it takes will, it takes proactivity, okay, to be in that century that he lived through to do the things that he was doing. It's unheard of. It's very progressive. So, and he had to fight the whole way to do it. So I think that's something that we definitely need to acknowledge, and acknowledge the different things that he went through, to get Negro History Week off the ground. Okay. So, in 1875, when he was born again, um, so I'll let you know he is a life path 7. So when he was born on that day, that was it was a 3 universal year, a 6 universal month, and a 7 universal day, which makes him a life path 7. Now, normally when you're born, we don't look at your personal cycle that year because you're just born into the world. But since this is such a historical figure, if we were to look at his cycle, then that would have been, here, let me pull the slide up here. Hold on. Yes, it went over there. Great. So that would have been a 7 personal year for him, a 1 personal month, and an 11 personal day. Okay, so say that wasn't his birthday and it was just his up cycle. So I wanted to point that out because that 7 and 11 and that 7 and 1 and that 7-11 are going to be a pattern that we continue to see throughout his numbers. And it should be because it's his life path number, it's his individual frequency, it's his soul urge number, and that 11 is his personality number. So he really embodied this energy. That 7 it like awakened the scholar in him, right? And at 11 marks him being the messenger. So again, nothing glorious or glamorous about how he had to come up and get this stuff done. The things that he did them deliberately. So when we look at this, we're going to break this down. So let me take this back down for just 1 second so we can get the slides back up here, because we're right here in 1875 here. So in 1875, when he was born, when we're born, we all have cycles, right? So we have our life path cycle, and then we have our pinnacle and challenges cycle that is along our life path that are like warning signals. And they're also like yield signs to let us know like what are the environments are we gonna um, you know, be in, and what kind of challenges are we going to face. So during the first 29 years of his life, he was at a 4 pinnacle with a 2 challenge. Okay. Now that represents work and foundation. And then that 2 challenge represents partnerships. So this is very interesting because this is what he did growing up. So when he was first born, he had to oops, keep putting that over here. I just want to make sure I got these notes right because I don't want to get any of his information wrong. When he was first born, he wasn't even allowed to basically go to school as, like elementary school. He didn't enter high school until later in his years where he just entered high school. He's self-taught. So this man, he's a brilliant man. He's self-taught. And what happened was when he was first born, he had to work on the plantation. He worked in the coal mines and he worked in a plantation with his family. So this wasn't, he didn't just get up and kind of like be like, oh, I'm just going to go ahead and do this Negro History Week. He worked the full first like 20 something odd years of his life. He worked. Okay. So the 4 is that work, it's that order, it's that structure. Okay. And then the 2, he had to work alongside his family members on in the mines. He also had a cousin that was very instrumental in teaching him a lot and kind of pushing him to go to school. He was kind of pushed out to go to school at a certain age because they wanted him to make sure that he had a future and he was able to accomplish the things that he wanted to accomplish. So this is how we start with Carter G. Woodson. He started this thing in a 4 and a 2 pinnacle and challenge cycle, and he worked the whole first portion of his life. Okay. And then let's just take a look at the next thing we want to look at. Um, let me get this other thing up. Let me pull this down. Hold on, family. Let me pull this down. I'm gonna pull my up. I hope everybody's doing good. Don't know who's here with me tonight, but I hope everybody that's here is enjoying this. Let me see if I can get the chat up here real quick while I'm doing a little break. To see who's in the chat. All right. Peace and love to Teresa Miller. Thank you, Queen, for joining. Peace and love to Lana. Thank you, beautiful, for being here. And peace and love to Botanical Bro. I want to thank you as well for being here. So thank you guys. If you're here, go ahead and share the episode with somebody. We are slow walking this today because I do have a lot that I want to share, and I don't want to miss anything. So we're going to slow walk this thing. So we already went through when he was born. So let me just go ahead and give you how he coalesced through his life to get through his next challenge. So born in 1875, and then again in 1897. This is when he graduated from college. So um, he ended up going to a high school in about, I want to say 18 um I want to say like 1895, because it only took him 2 years to graduate high school. So he went to high school in about 1895, and then in 1897 he graduated from Berea College, and that was in a 7 universal year and an 11 personal year. So again, guys, this is the second time that we're seeing that 711 pop up for him. So this again, it marks the awakening of the scholar and the historian. He graduated college, so this is a clear activation code of the sacred knowledge of that number seven and that master teacher energy in that 11 personal year. So all of those things are aligning so far with everything that he was setting out to do. And then in the second pinnacle cycle for him was also a 4-2. So for the first part of his life, he was in a 4-2 pinnacle. Give me 1 second. I just want to grab my sheet so I can show you guys. I'm right here. I didn't go anywhere. I just need to get my notebook with all his information on it. Hold on. Which of course I can't find, but it's okay. I don't really need it. I wanted to kind of show you guys the pattern that it was making, but that's okay. So let me just pull this back up so we can get through this. All right. So then after he graduated college, let me get back on the screen. Hope everybody's doing good. Having kind of a rough day, but it's okay. Um, so after he graduated in 1903 to 1907, he actually traveled the world. So he went to the Philippines where he was an educator. He was a supervisor of education over there. Okay. And all of this is overlapping into his second pinnacle and challenge cycle, which is the same as the first one. So for the first few years of his life, he was all, along the same challenge, pinnacle and challenge. So it didn't change for him. So that four energy, it's order, it's foundation, it's building, it's structure. Um, it's dealing with social problems, asking, answering social questions. So we see all of this come through in the mindset of Carter G. Woodson in his early years. So he was still operating under the disciplined institutional system energy of that four. And then here, the two challenge for him here was very political and relational here for him, as he was basically being challenged by a lot of the people that he was working with, and challenging his knowledge and challenging, his worth and his identity to be there, right? So he went through a lot of that stuff in that pinnacle. So when we get into the middle part of his second pinnacle cycle, which is right here around 1905 that started. So there's 1905 up to like 1913. This is where that ended. Okay, so in 1908, he actually earned a degree from the University of Chicago, and he did this in a four personal year. So this is interesting. He did this in a four personal year. So that's a builder year, builder energy. That was also a one universal year for him. So that matched his individual frequency. So again, we see his one and four opening up for him and helping him along his way. And then in 1912, which was the year right before his pinnacle was about to change. So this was the last year of that 4-2 pinnacle cycle. Um, he earned his PhD from Harvard University. So again, this took place in a four. Now this time it was a four universal year, but he was in an eight personal year. But both of these numbers are very instrumental to him because the four is a part of his personal universal code. The eight is his expression, and it's also a challenge number for him. He experienced a lot of challenges at Harvard. While at Harvard, he encountered different historians, white historians who were dismissing Black historical contributions, and this is really what sparked him to want to do start the Negro History Week, because in Harvard he was being discriminated against, and he was trying to show the Black historical contribution, and the white scholars were not having it. And they suggested that Black people had no meaningful history to him. But Woodson did not accept that narrative from them. He rejected that narrative from him, and he pushed forward. And this is the important part that I want to get across to the family, because this is what we have to do. We can't accept narratives that people put place on us. Um, we have to be bigger than people's narratives on us. Okay, you're bigger than that. You are divinely made. You have all of these frequencies at your behest to work with whatever combination they show up for you. So, if you need those things to help you tap into that, then you reach out to me at numeralalytics.net and we get you a session. You can do the most basic one to start. But this is showing you how much numbers matter and how important it is, how we move forward with really navigating the energy that we're in. So again, so he graduated, got his PhD in 1912. Again, that was the 4 universal year and the 8 personal year. He earned his doctorate. So again, that structure and authority and legacy aligning, power, structure, integrity, um, you know, being and with that 8 as an expression, 8s also get very espoused about the things that they're interested in. So they're very zealous about their causes. So they're either like overzealous about their causes or underzealous about something. It can go either way. But for him, we can see that he was very zealous in his cause and he believed in what he was doing and he's seen a true need. And I want us to remember this, family, in 2026, 100 years after Carter G. Woodson did this, because right now we're in a very tumultuous time in our nation. And this is the time that we have to think like Carter G. Woodson. This is the time where we have to act the way Carter G. Woodson acted. And we have to have the will and the drive and the proactivity that he had, because he did this thing out of nothing, you guys, and look where it's at 100 years later. Imagine what we could build with the technology that we have today. Imagine the things and the systems that we can put in place for ourselves. Okay, so this is the message that I want us to get across, that if he could do it in 1926, there's no reason why we can't do this in 2026 for different things that we deem necessary and that we deem that we need for our society. Okay, so instead of arguing with those white historians that were telling him that Black history does not have a place in American history, and there's no Black history, there's no historical context with Black people. Um, he denied that, and he said, no, instead of arguing with you, which he didn't do, which I'm very proud that he didn't do, because he was in that 2 challenge cycle, and that 2 challenge cycle asks you to handle things diplomatically and not argue, and not be confrontational, right? It wants you to handle things with understanding and patience. And that's what he did. He said, okay, that's your opinion. I have my opinion. So instead of arguing with them endlessly, what did he do? He made a decision. He said if they're not going to preserve Black history, then he would preserve Black history by building institutions that will recognize Black history and that would acknowledge it and keep it as a historical record documented. So this is what he set out to do. So now let's take a look, because we're still in the 4 pinnacle cycle. Okay. He did this in a 4 universal year. So that's double 4, that if we add those that together, that equals 8. So there's that 8 showing up again. But that's structural alignment, right? So the 4 gives you that structure, the 8 gives you the authority, the legacy, the institution. So he secured institutional legitimacy and intellectual power through the guidance of these numbers, right? All of these numbers are what were surrounding him in the atmosphere of what he was dealing with. All right. To me, that's harmonic. That's what you call divine timing and a harmonic reinforcement, right? So he did all of this stuff during a time where Black people weren't even looked at as people during this time. So this is very, very, very intriguing. Okay. So again, the 4 pinnacle brings mastery through institutional endurance. Okay. And that 2 challenge remains navigating the elite white academic spaces without internal compromises and without confrontation and with understanding and grace and compassion. So he did that. Um, so very, very, very much a productive first two pinnacle cycles under that four pinnacle and that two challenge for Carter G. Woodson. So now, you guys, we're moving out of this first part of his life, from 1913 to around 1920, around here. He switched pinnacle cycles to an 8 pinnacle with a 0 challenge. So this is going to represent power and legacy amplified spiritually. Anytime there's a 0, the 0 is an amplifier. So it can do many things. The 0 can either bring 0 challenges, it can exponentially amplify the challenge of the number that precedes it, and it can demand that you develop the spiritual nature of that challenge. Okay, so that's what that zero's showing us. Okay, so the 0 challenge is also his main challenge of his life. So his main challenge was to amplify spiritually, right? Develop this spiritual system, because the Black history is a spiritual system, you guys. It's not just history, it's spiritual. It's our spiritual connection to our ancestors. If we didn't have that connection to our ancestors, where would we be? And I just want to read a quote, because this was a quote that he stated. Um, so let's read that quote. Those who have no record of what their forebears have accomplished lose inspiration. Okay. This is Carter G. Woodson. This is the man who created Black history, guys. This is why he did this for us. He did not want us to lose inspiration, and he already saw it happening back during his time. And this is why he did the things that he did. I mean, he really does have a fascinating life, when we stop to look at it. So I really just wanted to get that across. And then let me get these up here. So let's look at his first portal. So let me get the slide back up here. I'm not handling these slides that good tonight, right? There we go. So 1915 is going to be like the first portal. So right now, what we're going to do, we're going to actually talk about 3 portals of energy. Hold on, let me remove this. I don't know why it's doing that. Got a lot of Mercury is retrograding. Let me just tell you how this Mercury is retrograding. Okay. So let's get into his portals. Let me get these up on the screen because I want to show the first portal. So we're going to be looking at 9/9/1915. Okay. And this is the first portal for him. Matter of fact, this is good because I think you guys can see it. I'll leave it like this so we can see both. So portal number 1 was on 9/9/1915. Okay. I mean, this man is so amazing. This is a year in 1915. What was he doing in 1915? He was establishing organizations so we could have a memorial architect for our history. So on September 9th, 1915, Carter G. Woodson founded the Association for the Study of Negro Life and History. Now, this date forms a rare alignment, family. This is, look at the universal day, 777. That's a 7 universal year, a 7 universal month, and a 7 universal day. That puts Carter G. Woodson in an 11 personal year, 11 personal month, and 11 personal day. Okay. This is sacred record keeping portal. This is master messenger activation. This is sacred wisdom and knowledge. This is mastery. This is knowledge seeking. Okay. This is all happening in an 8 pinnacle cycle. Okay. Mastery. Okay. Building. Okay. Material mastery, institutional mastery, CEO level energy. Okay. So he created this organization in this year. So I just was flabbergasted and thrown aback when I saw that portal. So this is the first portal. This is the first portal. I'm going to put it big on stage. This is his first portal in 1915. And this is amazing for someone to be able to handle this and do such a feat like this in 1915, founding the Association for the Study of Negro Life and History. So again, 7 is his year, 11 is his personality number. So that life path 7 with that 777 universal date alignment in his personality being an 11, 11, 11. Again, that's sacred knowledge with the historical record and illumination and transmission. So, he carries that 711 number. So that's why I'm calling this a portal, because we see that these are all triple numbers. This was definitely a portal for this to happen during an 8 pentacle cycle. Okay. So I really wanted to make sure I pointed that out for us. I'll take that down for a second because we're going to get into 1916. So in 1916, let me see, am I still up on the screen? Let me get on the screen, guys. I'm sorry. Sorry about that, guys. It's like a little technical difficulties tonight. So in 1916, now this was during an 8 universal year. This is when he launched the Journal of Negro History. So this was the first launching of it in 1916, 10 years before he actually published this. Okay. So he launched this thing in 1916. So really, if we really wanted to get technical, this is 110 years of Black history, guys, not just 100 years. It's 110 years because in 1916, again, is when he first launched this. Okay, so he launched that in the 8 universal year. Now let's do a core number check. 8 is his expression number. 8 is also a stress number for him. Now let's not remember. So he is producing, and 8 is also the pinnacle that he's in during this time. So he's producing 8 level energy. Okay, that's power, building on integrity, and building on, a cause, a spiritual cause that he believed in. Because to him, this was spiritual. It wasn't just like a historical thing. Um, so then in 1920, this is when he established Associated Publishers, and that was a 3 universal year. So this is when he started getting some of the things published, but it wasn't fully published. He established this thing called Associated Publishers so he could publish his own stuff because people weren't even trying to work with him to publish this, right? So that was a 3 universal year. Now, remember, the 3 is a part of his personal universal code because he's a Sagittarius, so he was born in a period of the 3. So this is also a very poignant year for him. Although it's not one of the portals, it's a poignant time for him to establish that publisher association. Because again, what is 3? 3 is the exchange of information, it's the exchange of ideas, it's expansion, it's all of that stuff, right? So look what he did in the 3 universal year. And not to mention, if we add that up, that's going to be a 7 personal year for him. Okay, so again, he's right on code with his numerology and with his core numbers. Okay, so very much creative expansion of the institutional base is what we're calling this, that 1920. Then when we get to 1922, he publishes the Negro in Our History, which was and that's this right here on the screen. Do I have that up on the screen? Nope. Let me put the slides back up and I'll make this big for you guys. So this is our Negro in History week. And this was like a column that he was doing. So it was like a weekly column that he would write and send out by mail through that associated publisher house that he created. Okay. Because again, like I said, no one was trying to work with our brother. So he had to go build stuff on his own. And this is what I talk about all the time on BTV when I talk about the 7D cultural ascension principles. We have to build and develop things on our own. Just like Carter G. Woodson, all of our great ancestors laid the blueprints for us, family. We just got to follow this stuff now. We have to be more proactive um, in our activity in 2026 because things are starting to get very, very funny style around the nation, right? So let's move on. So in 1922, he's still in his power and legacy pinnacle cycle. In 1922, that is going to be a 5 universal year, which would put him in a 9 personal year. Um, that's pretty awesome that he publishes that in that year, because again, the 9 is universal brotherhood, ideals, artistry, drama and stuff like that. And then 5 is also like a movement number. It deals with the public, it deals with taking risk, it deals with the circulation of ideas and distribution, and kind of so again, the numbers and the energy don't lie. Okay. So then I just wanted to point out that on July 18th, 1922, he purchased his first home. And with that home, he used that home as a base for his headquarters for his association for the study of Negro life and history operations. So he had to use this as his base to operate out of there. And again, that took place in a 5 universal year. That was a 3 universal month and a 3 universal day, which would put him in a 9 personal year, a 7 personal month, and a 7 personal day. So we see that 7 popping right back up, his resonant energy with his life path. Okay. So this is what I want to share with the family about this numerology. This numerology is showing up for Carter G. Woodson is the same way that your numerology has shown up for you throughout your life. You're just not aware of it. You're just not aware of it. But when you get to be aware of your numbers and you get on my that's why I showed the calendar before we got started. I want us to be prepared. Just like Carter G. Woodson did all this stuff for the nation, everything that I do at Numeralytics or on BTV is for our nation. It's for us to further ourselves, because we have a lot of naysayers and we have a lot of negativity, but we have to be the light, which we've always been, and we will continue to be. And we have to be the positive force and be proactive advocates for our own selves and for our own nation, just like Carter G. Woodson did. He didn't wait for nobody to tell him what to do. He did it. Okay. He did it. And like I said, when he went to Harvard, he had problems with these white historians and white scholars there. They told him that blacks had no place in history. But look what our great ancestor did. He proved all of those people wrong, and he built this fine institution. And I can't, thank him enough for the work that he put in. Not just him, but all of our ancestors. But he really sets it off. And let me tell you something about Carter G. Woodson. He stood 10 toes down on what he believed in. Um, he severed relationships with several partnerships because of him not wanting to compromise his history, and well, him not wanting to compromise his idea for our nation, because every time that he would get with these other people, they were trying to do things to compromise what he was trying to do. And he stood 10 toes down, y'all. Like, I'm going to get into a few of those quotes, but he stood 10 toes down. He made no compromises, and he made no qualms about any of that stuff. Okay. So let's get on with the slides. So this was one of them. I don't want to talk about that yet. So hold on, let me pull that down because we're not there yet. So he did have a little disagreement with Marcus Garvey, but we're not there yet. So I don't want to pull that up yet. Hold on, let me get back um to his 8 pentacle to make sure that I finished that out. Okay, yes. Okay, the 8 pentacle is finished out. So now, family, we're getting into his last pentacle cycle. Okay, so we went through all of the key things that we wanted to talk about in that 8 pentacle, which were very great things that he did. Now we want to look at this last cycle. Okay, and this last cycle is going to be a 6 pentacle, which we know is a challenge number for him. 6 is a challenge number for him. And then his challenge was a 0. So this was cosmic guardianship of that 6, amplified spiritually. So this is where he did the real work, guys, where he actually, got Negro History Week recognized. Okay. He put so much work in, he got it recognized. Okay. And this is very important. Yes, Teresa, he was a genius. He was a genius, a master. He didn't let nobody tell him nothing. He didn't let them make him compromise his position. He held strong. And this is what we have to do today, family. We got to walk in his footsteps and we got to put our foot down. We got to state the things we need. We got to develop them for ourselves. We can't ask others to help because they're going to compromise our vision. And this is not just for the nation. This is, I'm talking to us personally now. We have to do this personally for ourselves as well. You have to be your own advocate. Okay. Peace and love to the great Lloyd Strayhorn. Numbers and you. Thank you so much, Lloyd. Thank you so much. Love you much. All right. So let's see, where was I at? Where was I at? Because I got a lot going on. So we're getting into his last pinnacle cycle. So during this pinnacle, again, this is going to be him dealing with a lot of responsibility, cultural guardianship, I'm calling it, and community healing. Okay. And the zero challenge is amplifying his mission spiritually, okay, exponentially. So he's got to really put the work in for this. Because again, don't forget that zero is his main challenge as well. So let's look at by the mid 1920s. Um, he moved from building institutions to protecting cultural memory. And that makes sense because in the early 1920s, he was in his eighth pinnacle where he was looking at building those institutions and building structures. He moved into his sixth cycle. So now it's time to protect cultural memory, community, home, family, responsibility, um, all of those things, balancing, making adjustments. So this is what we're dealing with now. So we're going to now look at, let me see if I got that slide with so let's just look at when he launched Negro History Week, because this is what we're celebrating 100 years of. So in February 2020, 1926, I'm about to say 2026, he launches Negro History Week. Yay! Let me see if I got anything. I'm going to say that again and I'm going to put some applause behind it. I really need like a producer, y'all, because I got 100 things that I want to be doing over here, but I don't got enough buttons and all that to get it all done. But no, I think this is awesome because in 1926 in February, he launched Negro History Week. Great. That was beautiful. And I think that is beautiful. So now let's look at 1926. So this is going to be a 9 universal year. Okay. 11 universal month. Okay. Look at that 11 again. That 11 is his personality number and it continues to show up throughout his portals. Okay. Um, so again, a 9 year, that's going to place him in a 4 personal year, which 4 is also um a, a main number for him. And then an 11 universal month, that's going to place him in a 6. That's going to be a 6 personal month for him. Okay, so again, this is a humanitarian vibration. All right. Um, collective elevation, master illumination cycle. Okay, his personal alignment, like I said, reflects that 4 personal year, that 6 personal month, building the structure, is serving the people. That 6 personal month becomes very important because he's in the 6 pinnacle cycle. And the work that he's doing is cultural responsibility to the community. That's what 6 is all about. It's not just about home, it's about community. It can also be about business. Six is a minor business number. Okay. So under that 6 pinnacle, that cultural responsibility, he launches a national cultural intervention. He does this in the 9 universal year to serve the collective. That's universal alignment, folks. That's what we call universal alignment. Okay. That's what we call divine alignment. Let me see if I have his other portals up here. Hold on. Because I had portal slides that I want to show his other portals. And I don't want to talk about the Marcus Garvey thing yet. Yes, Portal 2. Yep, that's what we were talking about, the Negro History Week. Okay. So Portal 2, let me make this small because I want it to be alongside his thing here. Hold on. Don't worry, guys. I got you. I'm going to get this right. So now we already looked at his first portal. His second portal, let me just make it big because it's not working. The second portal was that date that I just talked about where he launches Negro History Week. Okay. So again, we see all of his key numbers showing up here and even his stress number and his pinnacle that he's in. So this is very important. All right. Let's take a look at the third portal and then we're going to get into some of the other things that he had to contend with, like dealing with some of the other people that he was working with. So the third portal took place for him in 1933. And this is where he publishes his book, The Miseducation of the Negro. Now, guys, I told you already about these numbers and these alignments that he has. This took place in a 7 universal year, his life path, and 11 personal year, his personality number. Okay. So again, that 7 reveals wisdom and the truth. Okay. Knowledge seeking, explaining and sharing theories and fundamentals that you've learned. That 11 is sharing that to the masses, spiritual download and illuminating, shedding light on the truth, making sure that truth gets heard, making sure it's practical for the community to be able to embrace and use to do better. So this work becomes a cornerstone in Black intellectual history. Again, his life past 7 shows that resonance of his philosophical manifesto. He is a pure life past 7. So this is, you know, the amazing life of Carter G. Woodson. I mean, really, really just an amazing person. Did amazing things during a very hard time. Okay. And I want to read another quote for him. If race has no history, it has no worthwhile tradition. Okay. And another quote is when you control a man's thinking, you do not have to worry about his actions. Okay. These are the things that he wanted us to know, family. This is the stuff that he curated for us specifically. Okay. Specifically. And he did this in 1916, 110 years ago, is kind of when that journey started. It started, give or take, a little before that, but that's when he actually came up with the idea to do this. So 1915, that was that 7 year. He founded the Association for Negro Life and History. In 1916, that was that 8 year. He launched a journal. And in 1926, the Negro History Week got launched. And in 1933, he launched his Miseducation of a Negro. So the Miseducation of a Negro. And this is just phenomenal. Okay. So all of these things that he did stands directly in line with um, his numbers. They all stand directly in line with his numbers. I think we looked at that, and like I told you guys, he stood 10 toes down. He had a lot of confrontation throughout his life when he was trying to implement these things. And just think about it. Anything that we try to do, even now, we have complications doing them. So imagine what he went through back during that time frame. Okay. So again, so let's just look at some of the things that he had to contend with. Studying at Harvard, he trained with those white historians who openly dismissed Black history and the significance of Black people in history, even declaring that Black people had no meaningful history. I told you Carter rejected that idea immediately. And he rejected it, and he said that no people exist without a history, and that the absence of a record does not equal absence of contribution or absence of history. So I think those were very powerful words back in 1920. Those were very powerful words, especially for a Black man to stand up to say to a white man. So that was very powerful for him to do and very courageous, which is very indicative of his fire sign, fire number. Okay, so rather than assimilate into the academic status quo, he changed the narrative, family, and he developed his own system. That's what we do. We're innovators. We develop our own systems, and this is what he did. So since the institution wanted to preserve Black history, he built one that would. Okay. So again, Throughout his life, that number 7 is the seeker of truth, that number 1, the independent thinker, that personality 11, the public illuminator. Okay. He never seeked validation. He always accepted every challenge that came with him, and he proved himself through work, through routine, through being structured and organized and standing 10 toes down on his morals, on his business for Black history. He didn't let anybody come between him and getting his Black history published. So, he recognized early on that the mainstream scholarships ignored Black history or distorted Black contributions. He knew that. He's seen that and he made a change. He did what the one thing that we all have to do for ourselves, change ourselves. Like Michael Jackson said, the man in the mirror. If you don't like the way you see the world, you got to change yourself. Because you can't change the world. You can only change yourself. We can all only change us, which then changes the world. Okay. So he really believed, and he became convinced that Black history had to be researched and published independently to avoid what he called becoming a negligible factor in the thought of the world. Okay. He did this because he didn't want Black history and Black people to become a negligible factor in the thought of the world. Do you guys hear this? This is what this man built. So rather than fight, he just built his own system. And see, people don't like when you do that. They don't like when you do that because they want you to believe in the limitations that they put on you. People want you to believe in the limitations that they put on you. So you have to dispel that with people. Okay. So now I want to look at this thing that he had going on with Marcus Garvey. Okay. Because we all know that Marcus Garvey, was instrumental in doing some things in the movement. So let me just take this down for 1 second, and I just want to get the date. Because I don't have the date written here, so I just want to make sure that I quote the proper date for this, and then we can start moving forward. Let me see what date he did this with Marcus Garvey. I think this was around, it was around 1926. It was around that time that he published a journal. Because I think it was something where they wanted him to let me see. Here we go. So it's not giving me the exact year, but I want to say that it was around the time that the journal was coming out. Um it was around the time that the journal came out. So let me tell you what went down with him and Marcus Garvey and why he told Marcus Garvey to kick rocks. Like he told him to kick rocks and I don't need you. That's what he told him. He didn't need him because he did not compromise on his goal and his vision. And that's what I want us to all do. So Woodson believed in self-reliance and racial respect, values he shared with Marcus Garvey, a Jamaican activist who worked in New York. Woodson became a regular columnist for Garvey's weekly Negro World. So that was on one of the slides that we showed, the Negro World um, um, articles. So Garvey believed that African Americans should embrace segregation, as he contended that the race relations were and always would be antagonistic, and his ultimate objective was a Back to Africa plan, as he believed all Afro Americans should move to Africa. Woodson broke out from that. He didn't believe in that. He broke with Garvey. You know why? I'm going to tell you why he broke with Garvey. Because when Carter G. Woodson learned that Marcus Garvey was meeting with the leaders of the Ku Klux Klan to discuss how the Universal Negro Improvement Movement Association and the Klan could work together to achieve its back to black to Africa plans. Marcus Garvey wasn't down with that. He wasn't trying to go back to no Africa. He knew that this was our land. He knew that we had been here because he knew the history. He knew how many centuries we had been here, all the work that we had put in here. And instead of, um, meeting with detractors and meeting with people with the Ku Klux Klan, when he saw that Marcus Garvey was meeting with the Ku Klux Klan, he was like, "Oh no, man, I can't mess with you no more." He stood 10 toes down on that. And he departed from him. He told him to get to stepping. He told him to get to stepping, basically, and go ahead about your business. He refused to align with any movement that was willing to collaborate with white supremacist organizations, even if it was for a strategic purpose. He didn't believe in that. He didn't believe in that. So when I tell you he stood 10 toes down on what he believed in, trust and believe, family, he wasn't playing with that. He wasn't playing with that. Okay. He understood these things. Okay. He understood where things were going with this community. All right. So he always resisted outside control, and he was always cautious when he was dealing with close colleagues, believing that his organization's mission had to remain disciplined and independent. I hope the family's picking up on the things that I'm putting down here. This is why we delineate. And I'm not here to talk about that right now, but this is a part of it. He was doing it back then. And we've gotten off track, family. He is a beacon that we should be looking to for the work that he did and the way he stood 10 toes down on Black American business. He critiqued Black churches and the educated elite. He critiqued these people. He called them out. He did not limit his critique just to white institutions. He critiqued anybody that wasn't down for the preservation and the cultivation of our history and for our future. He argued that some institutions offered limited opportunities and kept Black communities dependent rather than empowered. This is what he was combating. He also warned that highly educated Black professionals could become disconnected from their own communities if education did not remain culturally grounded. This required courage, people. This is what you get from a fire sign, fire number. Okay. This required courage. It required perseverance. He was willing to challenge his own community in order to strengthen it. His core philosophy was education must liberate us. And he didn't believe in it being compromised by outsiders. He believed that education should produce independent thinkers and community builders and not imitation of the dominant culture. This is what he believed in. And this is what we have to take a page from his book 100 years later and start believing in again. All right. All right. So he also argued that traditional schooling often trained Black students to admire others while minimizing themselves, which created psychological dependence. He's seen all of this back in 1920s, y'all. So for him, historical knowledge wasn't just historical or decorative. It was for survival. It was for survival of the future descendants that would come. And that's us. All right. So he held this stance for decades and he never softened it. He never softened his stance on this. He did not compromise, even when it costed him institutional support from the popular dominant society. He didn't care. He didn't care. He didn't want their money or their support because he knew taking those things would be bribes for him to compromise his position on what he knew the culture needed in his sixth pinnacle cycle, family. He was the great adjuster in that sixth pinnacle cycle. He made adjustments for the culture. He fought white institutions, he fought Black elites, he fought churches, he fought anybody who was going against us preserving our history and standing on our own cultural virtues. Okay, he didn't move with the crowd. He moved with principle. Okay. And when academia dismissed Black history, he said, all right, I'll just build it. He built it and we came. And look at us 100 years later. Okay. 100 years later, we're still celebrating Black History Month. Okay. And it's bigger than it's ever been. All right. So that was the end of the presentation. I'm just going to a little bit right now just talk about his numbers, because these numbers show how this man built this great institution alone when it was necessary, because he's a number one. He's an individual frequency one. Ones are independent. They're original. They're creative. Okay. They don't wait for um, permission. Ones don't wait for permission. They're very direct. They're straightforward with what they want. And not only was he a life path one, he was a soul urge one. So not only did his mentality and his personality, scream independence, originality, creative leadership, so did his soul. His soul urged for it. His soul urged to break barriers. All right. When we talk about that number one, what does the one do? The one is the first number. It breaks barriers. It pushes through triple stage of darkness to become, to stand as one on its own, forceful, dominant, active, actionable, proactive. Okay. So that was his one. Okay. Now let's get to his life path. Number 7. Oh, number 7. Truth seeker, wisdom seeker, knowledge seeker, always looking beneath the surface to get the final answer. Never taking things on face value. Once the fundamental understanding of different theories and fundamentals of life, wants to understand them, wants to gather the knowledge, information gatherer, so they can share it with the world. That's what number 7s do. Okay. Then again, his expression is an 8. Institutional authority, power, integrity, spirituality. And that 8's got a spiritual side and a material side. He was up here on the spiritual side. He didn't care about material things. He used that power of his 8 to develop a legacy of historical spirituality for the whole Black American community. Imagine that. His personality, how all this gets packaged. So all those things I just talked about, how does that get packaged and sent out to the world? Well, that gets sent out to the world with double ones. So we're back to that one, creative, original leadership, fire, spontaneity. And then you got the 2-1. So that's all of those things doubled up. It's a master number. He's a master visionary. He's seen this vision in 1916. It's 2026, and I'm up here talking about him showing his vision. If that's not a master visionary, then I don't know what is. If that's not being a master visionary, I don't know what is. Okay? This is what he created, you guys. And I am here living proof. Me, you, all of us are living proof of how he stood 10 toes down on business. If he hadn't stood 10 toes down on business, we might not even have this week, this month, you guys. If he would have he would have let Marcus Garvey and he, do what he wanted to do with whatever he was getting involved with, we wouldn't even have Black American History Month, week. We wouldn't have had none of it. But he stood 10 toes down. If he didn't stand 10 toes down and he was scared of the dominant society, he would have gave up in 1916 when he went to Harvard and graduated with his doctorate degree, when those white scholars were telling him he couldn't do it and Black people wasn't nothing. And we didn't have no contribution to history. Okay. Okay. So he is a master visionary. A master visionary. And again, that 11 is the bridge between the spiritual and the physical. And then he also has that 8, the spiritual and the material. So he's got a lot of cusp energy that he's dealt with in his life. Okay. And then those opposition numbers of his, that 8 is an opposition number to him. So he handled that 8 beautifully, magnificently, like a master. He handled a stress number like a master, with it being his pinnacle number and it being his expression. He handled it like a master. That pressure, he handled that pressure through responsibility. He had power struggles. He dealt with constant change. So these were his opposition numbers. Those were the things that he dealt with, through the opposition throughout his life. But we know pressure makes diamonds, right? You put enough pressure on coal, it creates a diamond. And that's what we are. We're diamonds. We are diamonds of this society, family. Okay. We have had so much pressure applied to us as a Black American community that we have turned into diamonds. And that's why during the golden age of invention, why we invented so many things back then. But then there were so many barriers kind of placed on us. It slowed us down a lot. And there's a lot of things that has slowed us down over the years. But what I want us to do right now is to take a page out of Carter G. Woodson's book, because he didn't let none of this slow him down. And he was doing this at a time of heightened out front racism in your face. It wasn't just systematic then. It was systematic and it was broad in your face. Okay. We don't have it as bad as he did right now. So we could be doing a lot more to make sure that we're continuing his legacy, adding on to his legacy. That's why I don't subscribe to when people say, oh, I don't believe in Black History Month, or why we got the shortest month and all this. Like, listen, do some knowledge, do the history behind why it's in February. Okay. There's a reason why he put it there. All right. And then when we just look through this numerology, it's it's divine, you guys. This is the universe. This is God. This is source doing this. It wasn't his decision. He's a master visionary. He got a vision and he followed it. So who are we today in 2026, 110 years later, to say, oh, Black History Month ain't nothing and we don't respect it? Respect people who say that. I don't. I don't respect them. Just like he would not respect you either. So he remained steadfast because his work was not approved by the dominant society or a lot of his peers. They didn't approve of it. But he was the true cultural preservationist, something that I dubbed myself, call myself the cultural preservationist. I learned from him. I learned from him. He taught me cultural preservation. Okay. So I think, that's something to be said. I want to put this back on the stage, because this is 100 years of Black history. Actually, it's really 110 years when we look at when he actually came up with the idea, the master vision that matches his personality number. And this is where we are today. So it's a beautiful thing. And I am very, very, um, happy to even to sit here and even talk to you guys about this. Because without him doing what he did, I wouldn't even be able to sit here and talk about it with you guys. You know what I mean? So this is what we gotta, make sure that we're preserving our history and we're preserving our culture, and that we continue to develop things for our culture. We continue doing the 70 cultural centrum principles, which is what Carter G. Woodson did when he created Black History Month. He was operating at a supreme 7 state, just like his life path. Okay. So I hope this was educational for you. I hope you learned something. I want to thank everybody that tuned into the live. If you're tuning in to watch this later, thank you so much for being here. Um, I hope that you do learn something. Please subscribe to the channel, hit the bell notification, because we do have a lot coming up for you. Remember that March is a couple of days away. So we will have the March energy update for you on March 1st. We'll be recording that probably tomorrow to put out. So we're heading into new energy, and it's not too late to get your personal roadmap for 2026. And you can do that by going to my website and purchasing it. Okay. And what I'm going to do right now, If you want to get your roadmap, the roadmaps on my website are $35. But since it's Black History Month and we're talking about Carter G. Woodson, I'm going to place these on sale. So if you want to get and let me show it to you so people can know what it is. Okay. So I have personal upcycle roadmaps for people to follow along so they can know what to do and what not to do in their energy. Okay. So let me just get to the website and then I'm going to share the screen one more time because I want you to see what the roadmap looks like. Hope we didn't go Mercury retrograde. Mercury started retrograding. All right, don't worry. It's because I'm trying to pull up the website. Hold on. It's coming. I'm going to close the slide because we're done with the PowerPoint. And then that should let me pull up the website. Okay. Let me save that. Give me 1 second, family, because this is important. And I'm going to put these on sale for us, okay? For you guys. So they cost $35, but we're going to run a sale for Black History Month. So let me get to the home page and share this. So come to my website and scroll down. This is a free worksheet, guys. You can download this for free. It's a worksheet for you to find your personal energy factor. So you just hit this button right here and download it, and you can keep that and you can use it to get your personal energy factor. Once you know what your personal energy factor is, you can purchase the roadmap for the entire year. We're just in March, so the year is still new, okay? So you're either going to be a 1 through 9, okay? And whatever your personal energy factor is, that's the roadmap that you want to purchase. Now, you can purchase them on the website for $35. It'll be a digital download. But if you want the sale, I'm putting a sale out, but you have to text my text line if you want the sale. So let me put my text line up on the screen. And you have to text to me, Carter G. Woodson. Okay, let me put this up on the screen. This is my number. This is the line. Okay, if you text to this line, Carter G. Woodson, you can text to that line, Carter G. Woodson, and cash at me $20. Actually, I should have put all that on there so everybody knows how to do it. So you want to cash app. I'm putting on sale for $20 for the family. Okay. I don't know how much longer I'm going to do the sale, so take advantage of it. I'll probably honor it for at least I'm going to honor it at least through tomorrow night at midnight because tomorrow night is the end of Black History Month. But I may extend it for another day. So let me just save this and then add it up here. So if you cash out $20 to me and text Carter G. Woodson to 302-492-7722, I will send you your roadmap. Okay, so you don't have to pay $35 from the website. I mean, if you want to pay $35 and get it there, you can, but it is on sale. Okay, so it's on sale. Make sure you take advantage of this. Okay, these are roadmaps. They're not just roadmaps. They have everything you need from every month, who you're going to attract that month, the things you should do, the things you shouldn't do, your best color, your best day, your best crystals. It's going to give you also let me see if I have one to show you. Sorry, because I got so much going on over here. Let me take this down. It's also going to give you don't want to look at that screen. It's going to give you journal pages where you can journal about your month, and you can also it has a scale, so with different energy. So you can scale out your month to scale, what was good for you this month, what wasn't good for you this month. Actually, I do have one up here. So I'll just show that real quick and then I'm going to hop off of here. I really do want to thank everybody for hanging in there with me today. Um, I know it wasn't that easy to get through all the slides. and the retrograde did help, but I don't think I was too frozen on any of the screens. I do want to make sure that you guys tune in on March 1st for the energy update for March. And then we do have a lot in store coming up for you. I'm going to be doing more numbers matters. Just been doing a lot of other things, so I haven't really been doing the show. So let me add this to the say. So this is the roadmap. So this one's for me. I'm a personal energy factor one. So I just pulled this up so you can see how the roadmaps look, so you know what you're getting. You know, with Queen Bee, you're getting just like that 7. You're not just getting surface level. You're getting deep. Okay, you're going to get things more than what's on face value. So it gives you instructions, but I want to get that. So all right, there we go. I'll just pull this up. So this is going to be for the first. This is going to be your year cycle. So the first slide will give you just your year. So this is everything for you for the year, and then C gives you journal notes. And then when we get into the month, you see this says January. So it'll give you each month is listed what the universal year is, what the personal is going to be for you. Okay. And then you have your journal notes, and then this is your check-in. So each month you get to check in. How was your mood? How was your focus? How was your momentum? How were your relationships, your money, your resources, your spiritual clarity, your health? What patterns did you notice this month? In what ways did the cosmic energy of your cycle show up? What good can you build on for next month? What should you release or adjust for next month? And then it goes into next month. Okay. So this is going to be very valuable for you. Okay. And right now it's on sale for just $20. Okay. So again, if you want to get this, you need to cash app me at it's BTV79. Let me put that up here. This thing is so temperamental today. All right. So you want to cash at me at BTV79. It's $20 for the journal. You have to text Carter G. Woodson to that text line and cash at me if you want to get the journal. Send me your email address. And if you don't know your personal energy factor, because you didn't go on the website and download the free worksheet to get it, then you can just let me know your birthday and I'll send you the correct booklet. Okay. So that's really it. I don't really have much more. Again, I okay, there it goes. I'm back. It just keeps freezing, so we're gonna go ahead and get out of here. I just wanted to come back and thank everybody. No, thank you, Donna B. Thank you, Lana, Teresa, Lloyd, Botanical Bro. I want to thank all of you guys for tuning in with me and hanging in with me. Um, And again, I want to give you peace, much love. You can go visit fashionfrequency.com if you want to get some of the gear. I have on my Royalty Rules shirt. So we have a lot of merch over there with positive, reinforcing messages on them. So go ahead and check that out over there. You can get through all of that by going to numeralytics.net. Okay. So, and also if you become a member on the calendar, you will get to meet with me once a month to discuss your questions. Okay. Head over to my website, get your whammy. You're going to get, I give 2 aspects for free on whammy. And then you can, subscribe to the calendar to get you want the other aspects and you want the full upcycle guidance daily. And you can put that into the calendar for any day. I actually put Carter G. Woodson's in. Um, so, before I go, I know I said I was leaving, but there's a few people still here. So what I really want to do real quick is show y'all this for Carter G. Woodson, because we didn't really show it. But I think it's cool. So I'll share it real quick and then I'll get out of here. So we did his whammy. Let me do the entire screen so it'll be big. So we did his whammy. Let me put it up here. Hit stop sharing. So let's look at his aspects. So again, with his whammy, he's a his soul urge is 8, his expressions 1, his life path is 1, his individual frequency is 1. So his whammy is 8171. So that signature is power. He wants to be a power executive. Um, he he has the ability to be an original trailblazer. I might have inverted his expression and his soul urge when I was talking about this through the slides, but it all of the same energy still resonates. I just might have said the wrong word now that I'm looking at this. Um his abilities as the original trailblazer, his must, which is his life path, is an analytical seeker, and he's an original trailblazer with his personality and his mentality. He is earth, fire, water, and fire. These are the elements that make up his core numbers that we're looking at. And then the planets that he had behind him. Look, guys, he had Saturn, the Sun, Neptune, also Jupiter, and the Sun. Mostly all masculine energy, just that one feminine planet there. All right. And then this is where we get into his strengths and challenges. So, as a soul urge 8, his strengths are strategy, endurance, and fluence. His challenges are hardness, workaholism, and greed. The guidance is to align power with principle, and he did that. He didn't have a challenge with that 8. He did that. Um, then his ability, which is his expression. The strengths are presence, courage, and originality. The challenges are selfish, impatient, or bully. And the guidance is to lead boldly and practice humility. And he probably did do that guidance, but I also think he did some of the negatives because he had to do this. He had to be selfish. He might have had to be a little bit of a bully to make sure that he was standing 10 toes down. Sometimes ones have to do that. So it just depends on the situation. Okay. And then his life path is 7. His strengths are insight, research, and spirituality. The challenges to that is withdrawal, doubt, and deceit. And the guidance is to trust your intuition and share wisely. And he did that. And then his individual frequency, we know we talked about. Again, it's the same as his expression. So we already talked about that. We don't have to read it again. Now let's look at how these are the aspects now. How does his aspects work out? Does what he wants align with his ability? They're conflicting. But that conflict makes an adaptive builder, and it gives him passionate discipline. You see how this works? So just because it's conflicting don't mean it's bad. That's the pressure that makes the diamonds. So you got to see what your whammy is. Does his ability support what he must do? It's neutral, but it's transformational. It requires balance. Okay. And does his wants align with what he must do? This is in harmony. This is neutral, I mean, but it's a harmonizing combination. So it's favorable for growth and stable nourishment. And we see all of this stuff shine through with the things that he accomplished, right? Now, does his individuality align with what he wants? It's conflicting, but it's adaptive. It gives him passionate discipline that creates diamonds. Does his individuality support what he must do? It's neutral, it's transformational, it requires balance. But this is also where you make magic happen. Okay. And then does his individuality match his abilities? They're harmonic because they're the same number. So that's amplified for him. So that's purposeful drive. Now, out of all people, he definitely has purposeful drive, right? So we saw that purposeful drive through his numbers. We saw that passionate discipline. We saw that stable nourishment and that favorable growth. So we saw all of that through his numbers. And you can see that through your numbers as well. You just have to go over to numeralytics.net and hit me up for a session. You can also buy your personal energy factor roadmap for the year. So, with that being said, I've been on this thing long enough. I really want to thank you guys for joining me live on a Friday night. I know most people are out kind of partying, but this is what I'm doing. So I'm glad that you're here doing it with me. And if you're tuning into this at a later date, thank you so much. Make sure you subscribe to Numeralytics and hit up numeralytics.net to get your individual frequency and your life path aspects for free. And then if you want the rest, it's a $5 per month subscription, which also includes daily upcycle energy, and it also includes moon resonant energy, and it also includes the ability to meet with me once a month for a little bit of time. So I hope that sounds intriguing. I want to thank you guys so much for being here. I love you all. Peace and Black power to everyone that's watching. Love you. Happy Black History Month.
Queens up in your hood because it's essential. Triple the investment, stocks and bonds, build a nest egg. Comfortable life,